Wouldn't it be great if you lived your best life until shortly before your death, as opposed to like today, unfortunately? The last decade, 2 or 3, is in chronic diabetes, congestive heart failure, lack of hearing, poor vision, and all the other things that go along with it, to where you become institutionalized because you can't live on your own. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Minute Friday. Do I sound upbeat? Do I sound happy? If you're watching me, do I seem pretty happy? I'm smiling. Why would I be feeling so good? Well, let me tell you. About 6 months ago, I went to Charlotte, and I told you guys about it, and I even did a podcast episode or 2 about it, to go visit my former fraternity brother, turned Air Force trauma doc, turned concierge medicine friend from Charlotte, Dr. Jeffrey Galvin. And I spent a lot of time in his office doing his concierge intake, professional intake. And in doing so, we went through all of my blood work. We did all my genetic testing. We did all my epigenetic testing. We did all my fitness testing. We did my neurocognitive testing. We did more testing than I've ever been through in my entire life. And we subsequently did some podcasts to talk about why even your amazing physician friend, who you go see every year, is probably not giving you the full diagnosis you need to live your best life. If you're a fan of Peter Attia or Andy Huberman, both MDs, I think both are PhDs, and I think both are out of Stanford, who have their podcasts, who've written their books. Outlive is a great book by Peter Attia, talking about the fact that we shouldn't be using the word lifespan anymore, but we should be using the word health span. That what good is it to live to 90 if you've got long-term chronic disease, to where, you can't travel internationally. You can't just get on a plane to go visit your kids or go climb a mountain or go on a long hike. The plan is, health span, to where you live a long, healthy, beautiful life. Something gets you in the end. I mean, I don't want to break the news to you folks, but death and taxes come for us all. And so you're going to die at some point. You may not want to think about it now, but it's going to happen. Wouldn't it be great if you lived your best life until shortly before your death, as opposed to like today, unfortunately? The last decade, 2 or 3, is in chronic diabetes, congestive heart failure, lack of hearing, poor vision, and all the other things that go along with it, to where you become institutionalized because you can't live on your own. And we see a 90-year-old and go, gosh, aren't they great? They can go to the restaurant on their own. We say that. Wouldn't it be great if you lived the way you're living now, with some parameters, right? You can't solve everything, but with a way better life? So let me share with you. I went for 2 days. In my case, I went for a long day and a half, but it's 2 days in Charlotte. And you may know a doctor. This is not going to any one of the big name clinics. The Cooper Clinic, for instance, which is famous for this, is on the corner of my house. Literally hundreds of yards from my home is one of the most distinguished intake executive medicine clinics in the world. And I chose to go to Charlotte. And there's a whole variety of reasons why. And if you spend an hour on the phone with Jeff Galvin, you'll understand why it's a better choice. I didn't want a team of doctors. I wanted one person in charge. I wanted everything to be handled by one person who was the lead, doing a lot more than they do at these clinics. And if you've spoken to anybody who's gone to both Jeff and other clinics, you will find that, in fact, he did a lot of stuff they don't do. And so it is a pain in the butt to go to Charlotte, but I want to share with you a couple of things. Recently at Orthopreneurs Summit, Jeff, I invited him as my guest. I invited him to be the onboard physician next year at Summit, and he's going to speak at Summit at Sea for probably about 45 minutes on all the things you need to be asking your physician and all the reasons you're getting bad information, oftentimes because they just don't have the time. They're not bad people, but if you've heard, for instance, that having salt is bad for high blood pressure, right? You hear it from everybody. If you have high blood pressure, cut back your salt. It's a BS argument. And this is not a conspiracy theory. It's been known for years that only 10% of people who have high blood pressure actually have the gene for high blood pressure. And he will test you to find out if you have the gene for salt impacting sodium dependent or sodium involved hypertension. If you don't have the gene, salt intake plays no role in your blood pressure. So go eat all the meat you want with salt in it, right? You get my point. So I brought him into the Orthopreneurs RD, our mastermind group. If you want more info about it ever, just reach out to me on Facebook. But I brought him into the RD group the day before Summit, and I allowed him fully, with my permission, to share my results from my 6-month journey. Not because I really give a darn about you knowing my medical history, but because I think there's lessons to be learned here that apply much broader than to me. They apply to you, because Jeff always says, if you shoot a bullet at a target 100 yards away and you're off by 1 degree, you're gonna miss the target. Now, isn't it better to be able to adjust that bullet 10 feet after it left the gun than when it's 99 yards down the target, down the path, and you can't get it back on target? And he likens that to a 35-year-old or a 45-year-old who has the ability to make changes in their life, in their health, in a way that an 80-year-old may not be able to. And so getting started with this stuff at an earlier age, just like I never understood why a 25-year-old does Botox, but now I understand it prevents the lines I am now pointing at on my forehead, because while they don't need it, they're preventing it. And so my point here is this isn't just cosmetics we're talking about your life, your health span. So I'll share with you a couple of things, and Jeff is going to probably share much more of my information at Summit next year, and we'll probably do another podcast together soon. But I just want to let you know, I'll be 56 years old in November. Certainly not old, certainly not young. I am what you would refer to in the sunset of my life. The sun has probably hit the highest peak in the sky, and there's probably less sun ahead than there is behind, unless I plan on living to 112, which would be wonderful, but unlikely. I went into him and we did a DEXA scan, which is one of the things he does, and that is the gold standard for measuring body fat, bone, osteoporosis, things like that. And it really can't be manipulated a whole lot, maybe a half a pound or a 0.5% here and there, but nothing significant. It is better than weighing you in water. It is better than electrical impedance. It is better than the in-bodies or calipers. It is the gold standard for measuring. And a GE is one of the best machines, which we used with him. Well, last week I went and got measured a second time, which is why I shared the results at RD in my Summit group. And I want to share it with you. Again, you may say, great job, Glenn, but I don't give a crap about that. That's not what this is about. I'm sharing some insight with you because short of me sharing data, I have no other way of proving my point here. For you to motivate yourself to go do, probably you're younger than I am if you're listening, and it's probably easier for you to accomplish what I accomplished. But I went for 2 DEXA scans 6 months apart. I started at a 31% body fat, and even though I never felt like I was fat, that's fat, folks. That's obese. I had a 33-inch waist. That is not considered fat, and it doesn't even put me into the category of metabolic syndrome. But I had a 33-inch waist with a 31% body fat and 3.8 pounds of visceral body fat. Anything above 2.2 puts you at considerably higher risk for heart disease, cancer, and a whole host of other things. And so his plan for me was he wanted to change my body, not have me lose weight. That's a big mistake. He wanted to change my body composition. So putting me on some hormonal replacement therapy, a little bit of a semaglutide, which I inject myself with weekly for a period of time. You end it, but it's a period of time. And I went full keto, and we're monitoring my blood work as well, so don't think I'm dying of heart disease anytime soon because of keto. There's some great books that'll help train you on that. Because for me personally, this was a plan that worked. Yours may be radically different. But he wanted me to lose 20 pounds of fat in 1 year, and he wanted me to gain 10 pounds of muscle in 1 year. Now, I have a $350 InBody, which is one of those machines you stand on. It's a scale you stand on. It has an arm, a hand attachment you hold on to. And every morning, he wanted me to wake up, pee, disrobe, take my measurements on the InBody. That way, I had trends, not for 1 day, but for 6 months, and you could see the trends occur. And the InBody, over the course of 6 months, showed me that based upon everything he told me to do, and I told him I was going to be hardcore. I told him I'm going to be the best patient you've ever had. I'm going to follow my keto to the T. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to work out my 6 days a week with heavy resistance exercise, cut back on my Peloton, cut back on my rowing, simply to put on muscle mass which also is going to help me aerobically with my VO2 max, but we'll get into that another time. And I'm going to do and he said, Glenn, you don't need to. You're going to have to be strict for a little while, then live 80-20. 80% of the time, do what you're supposed to do, and 20% of the time, have fun. Eat what you want. Have that anniversary cake. Go have that ice cream sundae. I said, no, not for me. I'm going to go hardcore for 6 months, like many of you out there would exactly do the same. And so I cheated over the course of 6 months for exactly 5 days. 3 days when I was in Israel, and 2 days when I was visiting my daughter in New York with my wife. That was it in 6 months. And so my results were, and again, please, this is not me crowing about my results. I have no reason to share them with you other than helping to motivate you to start making these changes in your life. So while I appreciate the attaboy, Glenn, I don't really give a damn about it, okay? It was for me and me alone, and my family, obviously. So I went from 31% body fat 6 months later on a DEXA scan to 13. Okay, that's an 18% body fat percentage loss. He said a typical result is half a percentage point a month. So you'll lose 6% a year, 12% max. Number two, I lost on my in-body. My in-body, by the way, showed me going from 21% to 7%, 6.5%, which is obviously, I'm not 6.5% body fat. But he told me that the weight loss the in-bodies are not that accurate, but they're better than nothing. So I lost, according to my in-body machine, I lost, I think the number was 24 pounds of fat in 6 months. I was like, holy crap, 24 pounds of fat, that's huge, 24.1. The DEXA scan showed I actually lost 34.1 pounds of fat, which again, I refuse to believe, but I've been told repeatedly by experts that the DEXA scan does not lie. And then last but not least, I gained 16.4 pounds of muscle. And I'm 56 years old. I am not on steroids. I am not on growth hormone. I am simply on some testosterone replacement therapy for neurocognitive, and because he wanted me to put on muscle mass. And once you start testosterone replacement therapy, you're on it for the rest of your life. You really should not drop off of it for a whole variety of reasons. You can, but most don't. And I'm okay with that, right? Because I feel better. I look better. I'm thinking clearer. My mood, which was never a problem, is even better. And so think about it. My delta, as he calls it, is 50. I lost 34 pounds of fat and I gained 16 pounds of muscle. It's pretty significant, folks, and I'm 56. So what I'm telling you is this. If you want to think better, you want to function better, you want to look better, you want to manage your health span. Oh, and by the way, my health span, that's the key to all of this, right? Looking good is great. But the fact is, I went from 3.8 pounds of visceral body fat to 1.4. My A1C went from almost pre-diabetic to below the floor because I cut out my carbohydrates. My cholesterol, my triglycerides dropped through the floor on keto. Long conversation we can get into. But my point in all of this is, honestly, folks, if I can do it, you can do it. And I sat around a table at Orthopreneurs Summit the night before with my RD group. We were having our mastermind dinner together, just our social hour. And 3 guys about my age or a little bit older were sitting around the table with me. And I love their wisdom. They're great guys. And all of them were either losing weight or lost weight. And they looked at me and looked at my shoulder. He goes, I want that. The problem is when you're in your 50s or 40s, putting on muscle mass is hard. And you can lose weight, but you need some help a lot of the time. And I will tell you point blank, without the replacement therapy, I would not have gained the weight. But now my metabolism is faster. I will age better. I've reduced my risk of diabetes by having more muscle mass. And I'm never going to become a bodybuilder, but I certainly feel really good and I feel stronger. And I do jujitsu, and my partners I roll with tell me that I'm way stronger. So where's the problem with that? And so I've reached out to Jeff numerous times and said, have I shortened my lifespan? Am I running an engine at 100 octane gas when it really should only be running at 85? And his answer and other doctors' answers are no. You are only making your future brighter by changing your body composition. So if you've struggled with your body, if you've struggled with weight, if you've struggled with not having enough muscle mass, if you're hormonal, and again, this applies to women, he will tell you as well. Every hormone plays a role in both men and women. And all too often, testosterone, he told me, is neglected in women, and it needs to be addressed. And so my point in all of this isn't necessarily just to go to Jeff, but you need to go to somebody who's going to do a deep dive and who is also on board with the concept of modern day Healthspan medicine, right? If I said 20 years ago, go get Botox when you're 25, you would have said that's ridiculous. Nobody should do it. But now it's commonplace. There's reasons for thinking, the way we change, and your common physician often is not doing it. So again, all of this is simply put to tell you that my life has changed dramatically in the last 6 months. Scientifically, we've seen the numbers. I just shared them with you. So there's no longer a question about what happened. We don't question the why. We know that a combination of proper diet, a sustainable diet that works for you, designed by a physician, combined with potentially hormonal assistance and really good rigorous testing, can really change your life. And I'm begging you, because I love all of you, to consider doing this. If you want Jeff's contact, reach out to me, let me know. But like I said, he will be speaking at next year's summit. He will be on the boat for the whole time, so you can pull him aside. I've had many of my RD members just reach out to him and say, hey, my doctor told me I have this problem. We're not solving it. I have this hormonal issue, or I've got this other medical issue. Can you just give me your 2 cents on this and tell me what you think? And he's thrilled to help. And he's a measured, great guy. He's not trying to sell you anything, trust me. And there's more people listening to this right now who've gone to him, who are on the path, that have thanked me for sending them. And so I get no money, no financial remuneration whatsoever if you go to him. I pay to go to him, just like you. I pay a little less because we're friends. But my point is, it ain't cheap, but it'll be the best investment you make in your life to do these sorts of things. So sign up for the summit so you can hear him speak and be there to ask him questions at opsummit2024.com. I'm sorry for the long message today, the long explanation. And again, this isn't about me. I did this for me and my family. Whether you give me an attaboy or look how haughty he is, I really don't care. If my story motivates you, like it motivated many of my peers in the Orthopreneurs RD group, then yes, I'm thrilled I shared my numbers. If you don't like them, too bad. I really don't care. Maybe I will regress one day and all of this will come crashing down and I will gain the weight and I'll have a fat belly and you can point at me and go, ha ha, or like Simpsons, ha ha, and make fun of me. I don't give a darn. Right now I'm living my best life, and most importantly, I want you to live yours. So please join me in taking on this challenge of changing your life, because you will think better, you will function better, you will be happier, and life will be great. I promise you there. And a lot of times the mental stress you're struggling with has a physical reason for it. And I just hope you consider something like this. So wishing you all the best. Please sign up for Summit 24 at opsummit2024.com and know that I'm always here for you if you have any questions. Reach out to me, okay? Love you guys. Take care.